everybody. Welcome to Vision One Media Artist Shoutout. My name is Ella Beth. I'm your host, as always. And today's artist is someone that I met a few weeks ago. She is originally from the beautiful Bahamas, but has lived here in Atlanta for a minute. She's been doing music for a minute as well, but has recently decided to start putting it a little more out on Showcase, which is actually how we met at an open mic night. So without further ado, KRISTIANICIA, aka K Loving Music. I was debating whether I should be like, it's KRISTIANICIA, and then would you like to introduce yourself? Because you have like a very specific introduction for your social media. So could you introduce yourself your way?
Okay. So this is K Loving Music, where I am loving music so much, I just can't help myself.
I really love when I'm watching, being on like Instagram, scrolling through or like my reels and stuff on YouTube. I really love seeing your videos come up because for particularly your little intro, I love a personalized intro. I love a little bit of personalization.
Yes.
How did you decide to sort of incorporate that into all of the social media that you're doing now?
So, okay, I am basically a long planner. So when I had started this whole album, I was thinking about my brand name. And then I was like, I really love music and I really can't help myself. And then I was like, I should make that a tagline.
Yeah.
So then when I started my social media, I was like, I wanted people to get to know me and my personality. And so I was like, at the beginning of each video, it would be a good idea to let them know who I am, K Loving Music. And I'm sure people would be like, why is she called K Loving Music? And it's like, because I can't help myself. I love it so much. So that's what I do. And then I just recently made little singing stuff with the music, with the words. So I just kind of came up with that one day, and I just went with it to make it fun and cute.
Yeah. No, I love something that's not only personalized, but like is very much an embodiment of someone's personality. And so I think that's like, I love music. No, wait. Let me just sing it for you. Like that's it. It's self-explanatory.
Exactly.
So you're loving music now, but you have loved music for a really long time. What was sort of the catalyst or the start of getting you into music, and how did you find your voice to be your instrument?
I love that question. Okay, so I remember the specific moment. I was 3 years old. And I was living with my grandmother at the time, and I was sitting on her living room floor, and the TV was on, and Whitney Houston was singing, I Will Always Love You. And I will tell you, in my 3-year-old mind, I was like, I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It is set. I like to sing. She's a singer. I'm going to be a singer. My life is made. So I heard
that was just it.
Yes. And I was like, when I heard her voice, it was the most beautiful, angelic sound. And I think I felt like my soul just flying out of my body as she was ascending into those higher notes. And it was just like, oh, I need to be a singer like Whitney. And I was just so upset that like she died before I got to meet her. Like that was the biggest tragedy. Yes. Yeah. So, oh yeah. And what was the other part of the question?
Digressing from the other part of the question, have you seen the Whitney movie, I Want to Dance with Somebody, that came out?
You know what? I've been holding off on it. I know.
Okay, I won't say anything. But I highly recommend it.
Okay.
It's
really good.
Yeah.
I think the only reason why I haven't watched it yet is because, like, I'm not necessarily ready. You know what I mean? I know she died a long time ago, but it was just like, I don't know. I'm just not ready to see it just yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I felt a lot like that about Amy Winehouse and her passing in that documentary. So no, I feel you. Yeah, it's especially when someone like launches your love for music. For me, it was like Amy and songwriting. But when someone launches something, like it's very integrally a part of that facet of your creativity. So no, I feel you, girl. So the other half of the question was, how did you find that singing was your instrument? But I feel like that was all the same moment. You're like, I'm just going to, this is me, that. I want to do all of that. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, when I was a little kid, I had my first surgery, I believe, at 6 months. And I was a baby, and my mom tells me all the time that I used to sing nursery rhymes to all of the nurses and the doctors. So I was always singing as I was like going into the surgery, coming out of the surgery. So I was just always singing. And so I think that like when I heard her sing, it was like, I love singing. And then I think one day I think I started voice lessons at like 8 years old. And, you know, as I was doing voice lessons, I was discovering like, oh, I'm a soprano, or, oh, you could do this. And so that's when I started to realize like, oh, I think I'm a good singer, especially when people will come up to me afterwards and be like, you did such a good job and everything like that. So I think it was just that little moment and even at 3 years old, I just knew I was like meant to sing and I wanted to sing and I had a good voice. So, yeah.
That's so beautiful and inspiring. So apart from like knowing that you wanted to sing and knew that you could, I know that church is like a very big part of your life and your background. Was having the church background and everything that goes along with gospel music, was that also a fairly large sort of inspiration?
I would say so because obviously I got my start singing in church, like at least in front of other people, because I used to sing on my porch to whoever would pass by.
I love that.
Like literally,
that is fantastic.
I lived in the Bahamas. I lived in this neighborhood, and cars would drive through. But when there was a traffic jam, I would just go out there and sing my little heart out, and people are just waiting. And then they would put the windows down, and sometimes they clap for me.
Hey, listen, you knew exactly who you were and what you're about. Like, I love that. Takes people, decades to figure it out. You knew. I love that.
So with the church, like I became a Christian when I was 6 years old. So, having God in my life was very important to me at a very early age. And, so when I started singing, I didn't necessarily just see it as like a talent. I saw it as a gift from God. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I'll share this. My mind works in an interesting way. Like when I'm trying to describe something, I put a visual with it. Mm-hmm. And so the way that I like to think about it is, I know this probably doesn't exist, but it's like I feel like there's a belt line in heaven, like where everybody comes down and God, like, they're fixed and everything like that and put together. And then they make their last stop at God before he sends them down to the earth or whatever. And I know this isn't real, but it's just like, Yeah. And so I feel like as I came down the line, when he got to me, it's like he was looking at me and saying like, okay, you're going to have a difficult life. Things are not going to be easy for you. But I'm going to give you a gift to get you through this life. So that whenever you feel down or whenever you feel alone or whenever you feel invisible or whatever and feel like nobody sees you, you will be seen through your voice. You will be heard through your voice. So to me, it was just like God gave me this gift to get through this life.
Yeah.
So I always thought it was a special thing from him.
That is, I've not crying. That's for sure. I'm not crying. That I love that. I'm very much a visuals person. That is beautiful. And really, truly, you do have an incredible gift. And I am so, as a fellow singer, as someone who's a friend, like I am so happy for you. And also, I'm really glad that God decided to give you that gift because you work it and you use it. Like he gave you a gift and you use it to give back to him. And you use it to reach out to other people, That's how we met. Like really, truly. So I hope you know that, and I hope you believe and feel that like our Father is really honored by what you do with your voice because you really, really do use it beautifully.
Thank you.
So talking about you being disabled and a differently able person, as a singer, a lot of how we use our instrument comes from the diaphragm and the core of the body. And for you, that doesn't work entirely in the same way that other singers do. How has that been a challenge to because I know that you're trained.
Yes.
So talk to me about how being differently abled and a singer has been a challenge as you've learnt to use your voice through training.
Gotcha. So, like you mentioned, I started obviously in church, and then when I moved over here to America, I did voice lessons, and one of my teachers, actually the person who owned the vocal studio, she was just like, you should consider, getting classically trained. And I was like, huh? Like, I never thought about that. And I started, and I feel like being classically trained really helped me to kind of learn a lot of technique that allows me to be a very diverse singer, because I'm not just like one type of singer. I'm not just like a R&B singer. I'm not just a folk singer or a country singer or a pop singer. Like, I'm very diverse with my genres of what I sing, and I think that comes from my classical training.
Yeah.
And with my disability, everything in terms of like my internal organs and everything, they work fine.
Right.
So I am able to use my diaphragm, but with my disability, it does make it difficult for me to stand alone and just hold a microphone whenever. So like if you see my logo, for the I in loving, there's a little stool on it, because every time I sing, I use a stool. So that's why that's there.
That's like a little Easter egg.
Yes.
Okay. You've thought of everything.
I do.
Like all of the details. I love that. I love that.
I'm very detailed oriented. And so whenever I sing, especially for a big event, I always have a stool, because I can't really sing standing up. So with regards to my disability, wherever I go, I have to have something that allows me to sit. But the thing with that too is that it can't be too low, it can't be too high.
Right.
It has to be at the right height. And with my disability, in terms of the microphone, like anyone could just like hold the microphone and it's just like effortless to them. But I have to usually hold it with both hands. Sometimes I try it with one, but then I have to hold it in a certain way that I can, manage it. And so, with regards to me being physically handicapped, a lot of, why am I still holding it up?
We have another one.
But, a lot of singers, at least in the era that I came up in, there are a lot of like girl group singers, and everybody's like doing dances and everything like that. And so one of the reasons why I love Adele is that she's bringing it back, where you don't have to do all this movement, it's just the voice.
Can I just say that is also one of the reasons that I just absolutely will stan Adele forever. Like, yes, queen. Yeah, yeah. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
So, I think I've had to, school helped me to learn how to adapt. And when I say adapt, that means like I have to be creative to find a way to the end point that everyone else goes to, but I have to find a different path in which to get there.
Right.
And so that taught me, okay, if you're going on stage and people are holding you have to figure out a way to hold it. If you can't stand up, you got to have the stool. Actually, the guy who works here, or
at JB,
yes. So the other day I went to Red Velvet, and now, okay, let's just be honest. A lot of the stages, they don't have ramps, and they usually have like 2 or 3 steps.
Right.
And even though it's a small step for most people, it's like a big deal for me to just get up there. And the guy, I've never met him until that night, and I was like, I need to sing on the stage, and I was like, I actually need help. And he was so amazing. He actually helped me walk up to the stage, and then he actually lifted me onto the stage. So when you're me, you can't be like shy or anything like that. Yeah. You have to be willing to ask for help and be able to take it. So, I may not know you, but I'll probably know you by the end of the night. I have to be like, oh, can you lift me here? Can you help me there? So, the world was not really made for someone like me in mind. Even though we have a lot of modern technology and we've had a lot of progress, it's still like someone like me with a physical disability is definitely an afterthought, especially with a stage. And a lot of places that I've gone in, I'm probably like the first person that they've ever had singing on their stage, so they're not necessarily prepared for someone like me.
Right.
But my hope is that in me being there, it opens their eyes to make it more available for someone else in the future. Because I don't want to think that I'm the only person with a physical disability who's singing. I know I'm not the only one, but I'm not going to let my physical disability stop me from taking up certain spaces. Just because you haven't prepared it doesn't mean that you can't prepare it later. As to whether people want to do that, that's up to them. But yeah,
right. I think that too. That really speaks also to the person that you are, because like you said, you know, you have to be willing to be comfortable with asking for help. Perhaps somebody else who is in a similar situation to you might, you know, be too scared to ask. So I think that just goes to show another part of the strength that God instilled in you with the voice, because he wasn't like, just here's a good voice, you'll never be brave enough to use it. He was like, here's a voice and here's some sass and here's a great sense of humor. It's going to be hard, but if you use them all together, you know, I believe you really truly are making a difference in the industry that we work in, which brings me to another question that I wanted to talk about outside of the physical limitations that stages can be and microphones and just performing can have. When we first met, we talked about what it was like just being a woman in the industry and being underestimated just simply based on our gender. Now that's, I'll be honest, like for me, that's kind of like where it stops. And we then got to talk about the fact that not only are you just a woman in the industry, but you're a differently able woman in the industry, a Black differently abled woman in the industry. Like I don't even know where to start with. Like, so you don't have to give me a whole bunch of analogies or what, you know, but like how do you feel that I would really like to ask about your faith. How do you feel like your faith and your identity, knowing that you're a daughter first and a daughter with a gift, how has that been a strength for you in doing the entertainment industry as a trifecta of things that are hard in an industry that just doesn't look at anything other than males very, very, you know, kindly?
Yeah, you know, it's like, imagine having like a brick wall, right? Mm-hmm. So the first brick wall is, you know, my disability. Second brick wall, the color of my skin. Third brick wall, my gender. I have to like push through each of those each and every time I enter any place. Yeah. And it can be exhausting. Yeah. Because it's like, I'll share this real quick. When I was younger, I remember it, middle school. So I was so excited. I was going into 6th grade, and I went to the orientation, and they said chorus. You could sign up for chorus right there, and I was like, I'm signing up for chorus. So I put my name down there. I was like, I'm going to be singing. I was so excited. And I remember they were called connections back when I was younger. And so I went with this other young lady, and she had cerebral palsy, and she had not a guide. They were, you know, the special ed teachers that are, I forgot what their names are, but the caseworkers, her caseworker was with us. And so she was walking us down to the chorus room. And I'm so excited. I'm kind of like humming.
I was going to say singing to yourself.
Yeah. Like, going to chorus. Do. And so we get there, and I'm ready to like get in, but we were a little bit late. So we go in, and the woman, the caseworker, she knocks on the door, and then the chorus teacher turns, and she looks a little bit puzzled, like, why we're there. And so she comes to the door. The caseworker's like, hi, I'm just dropping them off. They're here for chorus. And I remember the teacher kind of closed the door a little bit. And she was like, they're not supposed to be in my classroom. And the woman was like, no, they signed up. And she was like, no. And she looked at us, and she was like, no. They're not supposed to be in my classroom. And then she turned around and closed the door on us. And I remember, like, and I don't think I've ever shared this with anyone besides my mom, but, you know, I remember feeling so sad and so crushed.
Absolutely.
Because I was absolutely looking forward to being there. And so while everyone else was going to their connections, like whether that's PE or chorus or whatever, I went to the special ed classroom. And the thing with me in school, like I was in all general ed classrooms.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily a part of the special ed education, but I still had like IEPs and stuff like that. So I just went into the room to do my homework, but I forgot my book. And so I went to my teacher's classroom, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" I was like trying to hold back the tears. I was like, "I'm getting my book." And I'm like,
yeah.
He was like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "Nothing." He was like, "Clearly there's something wrong." And this teacher had a reputation of like not being like the nicest teacher. Like nobody really liked him. So I was just like crying, trying to get my book, trying to like go back. And I remember he was like, "No, what's going on?" I said, "I was going to chorus and she won't let me be a part of it." And he was like, "Okay, let's go. Follow me." And I was like, "Oh my God, am I getting in trouble?" So we went to the office, and he's like, "You wait right here." And I was like, "Okay."
I love this for you.
And he goes back there. I don't know what he's saying. And then he comes out. He gives me this paper, and he's like, "That's your new schedule. Everybody put that in. This is her new schedule." And he was like, "You need to go there now." And I was like, "Okay." And then before I went there, though, I ended up going to the bathroom, and then I cried some more, and I was like, "God, thank you so much."
Oh, and you were sad crying, and then you were happy crying. No, you were scared crying in the middle there.
Happy crying. I don't know what's happening crying. It was a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
And it was so interesting because I was like, I felt like God saw what that person did, and then he had this teacher who I would have never expected to like bat for me and fight for me. And then I remember I went to the chorus the first time when she let me in, and she was trying to see everybody's parts, you know, if you're a soprano, alto. And I remember I was singing, and like my voice is always loud. So I'm singing, and I could hear her because I'm on the right turn. I could hear her leaning over, and she's not looking at me, but I could hear she's trying to hear me, and she's noticing, and she's like, and without looking at me, she was like, "You're a soprano. Go over there." And, you know, it was hard because I already knew she didn't want me there. But I definitely ended up getting solos and everything.
Yes.
So it's just like people might try to stop you from doing certain things or hold you back. But, like, I felt like my voice couldn't be denied. You know,
Absolutely.
It was there.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's an example of where my faith was like, God was showing me, like, I gave you something. It's good, it's special, and even though people might try to, you know, demean you or belittle you or make you feel like you don't belong, they will see in the end that you do.
Yeah.
And so I hold on to that when
Yeah.
I get rejected at certain places or whatever, just trying to hold on to like, okay, God gave me this gift, and hopefully one day someone will really truly hear it and see it. So that's what gets me through in terms of the faith, knowing that He gave me this for a reason.
Yeah.
Does that answer your
Absolutely.
question? Okay.
And I just want to honor, like, I want to honor you for honoring the gift that God given you and using it. Really, like, you deserve that. And also your tenacity. Like, that is really so, badass. So badass. Like, even from the first night that we met, you were just like, yeah, you know, it can be hard. Like, it's a lot. We were talking about TV shows and TV competitions, and it's just like a lot of no's all the time. And so I just think that you are such a, like, true badass because you haven't let the no's stop you, and you do let your voice shine through, and it does shine through, and God shines through that. So I think that's just awesome. Like, really.
It hasn't been easy. Like,
oh, of course not. The way you tell it is kind of like, oh, you know, but I'm sure it's been a tough, you know, and that's not to say it's not going to be tough again, but like to see where you are now, which is with an album that you wrote and recorded all on your own. Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness, I love talking about this album. So this album took me 8 years to create and make. And the thing about this album is that it came at a point, actually, speaking of what you were saying, is where I wanted to give up on singing and on everything. And because I had spent every part of my life creating this path to get me to my dream of singing, and nothing was happening. And like, I get it, a rejection here, a rejection there, but it was like, it felt at that point a lifetime of rejections. And it was just so much. And I remember I was sitting in my living room, and for me, when I sing and I'm writing songs, I'm not the type of person that's just sitting at a piano and banging out chords and then writing words. Like, music flows through me at like any given time. So what I have to do, it's a weird thing. Like, as soon as a song comes through, like, I'll sing it, but as soon as the last word is uttered, I forget it. Like, I have no idea what the words
happening. You have to catch it.
I have to record it. So I had all of these recordings on my phone. And I was listening to it one night because I was like, you know what? That was the 500th rejection I've gotten. My whole life feels like a failure right now. Like, it's not, because I had a plan for my life and it was not going according to plan.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I need to do something else. I even told my mom that night. I was like, I want to just go into psychology, I'm just going to go into that career field. She was like, what? She was like, that has nothing to do with music. I was like, I know.
I'm going to be a musical therapist, okay? Leave me alone.
No, not even musical therapist.
Just psychologist.
I'm psychology. Maybe I could help other people understand stuff that I can't even understand. Yeah. But I was sitting there and I was like listening to all of these different songs that I had recorded. And most of the time when I'm like singing these songs, I'm not thinking about it. It's just like, it's just flowing from in me and then out. Yeah. And so when I got a chance to sit there and listen, I started to realize like, oh, some of these are really good. And then what I did was I got a book and I started to write down the lyrics so I could see what I wrote. And then when I saw what I wrote, I was like, oh, wow. These words are really powerful. I know it's weird because you're like, well, you're the one who sung it. Like, how do you not know this? But, like, it's kind of, you're detached from it a little bit. Yeah. And when you see it, you're just like, well, I did that? When? Huh? So I saw, like, there were 7 songs that I took from that night of listening to my music because I listened to all of it. And I ended up, the other 3, one of them came to me in my sleep. I was asleep, and then I heard this melody, and then I had to, like, wake up and start singing it. And then the other 2, they came to me at my job.
Cool.
So
inspiration strikes in strange places. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So I ended up putting those together, and then as I was sitting there, I was like, you know what, God, I don't think I'm going to be doing this, but I feel like you're laying these songs on my heart as a way to say, don't give up on your voice, on singing. And so I was like, okay, God, I'll go ahead and put these together. And at first it was just like a hobby, but it ended up being like this project between me and God, because at the time too, my relationship with God was not good. Like, I was just not trusting him. I was just like, I don't really like you right now, God, you know?
Yeah.
So my belief, my faith, everything was on shaky ground. And I feel like he used that as an opportunity to bring us together again and build my trust in him and my faith in him. And it did build. And it was like with each song, my trust in him just kept getting stronger and stronger. And it also gave me a little bit more of a fight, because I just felt like since I was born, I've been fighting every single day of my life just for like the little bit of things. And I just got to a point where I got tired of fighting. But as I kept going through this album, like, I got a little bit extra strength. And then it was like all these songs were about a journey, but then as I was making the album, that was a journey in itself, because I was like, I had the songs, and then what ended up happening was then I would hear the instrumentation, and that took a lot of tedious time and everything like that, putting everything together, every single note. I didn't use any loops or anything like that. And because I'm physically handicapped, I can't play an instrument. So when I got onto the GarageBand and they had those software instruments, I was like, I can now take what I hear in my head and put it in tangible form. And so I put it all together, and it took me 4 years for the instrumentation, 4 years for the vocals, just trying to put it all together. But when I finished it, I felt like I created something truly powerful and truly beautiful. And it was the first time that I could express myself in my own artistry. So yes.
First of all, I love the journey for you. The fact that you're an artist, and not just an artist, but a singer. Like, not many singers can say that they wrote and produced their like entire albums. That's even for musicians, that's a big deal. But for singers, you know, we're like palmed off as like, you know, this is pretty face on the stage, blah, 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 blah. So the fact that you did the whole thing, like, that is truly, truly remarkable. And the album is out everywhere. So can you tell people where to find the album, to find all your music and your links?
Yes, okay. So the album is called Journey of a Broken Songbird, and it is on my website at this time, which is www.k-loving-music.com. And you can also hear the full songs on my YouTube channel. So that's going to be youtube.com/KLovingMusic. And what I did was, on my website, you can hear the audio only. And then I also made a visual album, because I wanted you to experience the musical journey through visuals, words, and music. And it sounds so much better when you have the headphones on. You could hear the acceleration, you could hear the climax, you could hear all of that. It's just like, it's an experience. That's what I feel my album is. So you can get it there. And then with regards to Spotify, Apple Music, and all of that, I haven't put it on those yet, but that is definitely in the future. And you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So
K-Loving Music.
K-Loving Music, yes.
Loving music. Well, I wanted to say thank you so, so, so much for coming in today. Thank you for coming along and having a chat. I think you are just such an awesome person. Like, I'm just really, I start off all of the interviews with like, I think this person's really amazing. Like, they're so fun. I've just met them recently. But like, the fact that we have gone and recently hung out again, I'm just like, I think that what you do is so cool. I am such a big fan of your voice. Thank you so much for coming along today.
Thank you. Oh, and one more thing. Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely, yes.
I will be singing at Eddie's Attic.
Oh, yeah. Eddie's Attic. Yes.
On Monday, and I'm scheduled to sing at 9:10. And if you've been there, you know that they're like 1,500 stairs. So that's going to be a journey in itself as well. But I will conquer those steps, and I will get up there and sing. And it's going to be exciting. I'm very excited. If anyone knows about Eddie's Attic, you know this is a big deal. So, yeah.
Yeah, John Mayer played there.
I know.
Quite a few times.
I know.
Exciting. Well, I am so excited to hear about your journey. Thank you so much for sharing your journey so far. And I'm already on the K-Loving Music train. So I'm like, I see all the updates come in real time on my Instagram, my YouTube reels. So it's awesome. And if you're an artist who has watched this episode or one of our other episodes and you like the idea of being on the Artist Shoutout show, we'd love to hear from you. You can hit us up at Vision One Media ATL on Instagram. We are Vision One Media Social. At Gmail is our Gmail account. You can contact me personally. I'm ellabeth.music on Instagram. You can hit us up on Facebook. We have our website if you'd like to book any sort of recording time, studio time here at the studios. But we are all about getting to collaborate with artists, and we want to be able to put artists on platforms and be able to showcase the awesome talent around us. So let us know, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.